Good morning, friend. I'm coming at you fresh faced and with a fresh cup of coffee to talk about hope. Um, and I'm also coming at you with this energy of renewal and rebirth. And I'm getting all the feels right now. So I invite you to just close your eyes for a moment, take a breath in, and have that breath signify a moment in time where you bring about a sense of renewal in your own life, however that may show up for you. Yesterday, I had the great privilege of hosting this beautiful 2.5 hour workshop aligned with the Lionsgate portal and Venus energies and the new Venus cycle that is just starting. And a group of incredible women and I sat together in a virtual space, and it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever hosted. Thank you to those who were there and brought your magic, and to those who are watching the replay. By the way, the recording is available at a discounted price. I'll have the link below. So, one of the things that surprised me, and I guess not surprised me, but I wasn't really expecting, is how prevalent the message of feeling hopeful was coming through. I heard from so many of the women who attended while they were sharing in the chat how they were feeling, especially after we had started the session and I was beginning to guide them deeper into an intuitive space and a space of surrender and a space of just opening up to possibilities. And the word hope came up many times. The energy of hope was really cultivated yesterday. And so that struck me. And whenever I find a thread, by the way, it's 11:11 here in Miami where I live. So make a wish. I have made mine. Whenever I sense a thread of something that is being woven, is being shown, I, I like to walk down that path and continue the exploration of that path. So this video is part of it. I'm also going to pull some cards just to help us kind of find some symbolism to align with this energy of hope that we're cultivating. And I'm going to share with you some of the ways that I had been in exploration of a deeper exploration of hope, because hope is something that we say a lot and we hope for, and lack of a better, no pun intended, but what's the word? Not to be redundant. That's the word I'm looking for. But hope is something that we hope for, right? The feeling of hope. And as I've lived through some of the most challenging years of my life, in the past 3.5 years with my husband's illness, I have become very close bedfellows with hope and the energy of hope and what that means, because we can hope for certain outcomes, and then maybe those outcomes aren't quite what we wanted. And so then that can be mixed with a sense of frustration and sorrow and expectations that aren't met. And so we may have actually a deeper relationship where we are in rejection of hope in some way. And I want you to just see and sit with what that is for you, because when we aspire to things that may not turn out the way we want them to, or we really are in prayer for things that turn out differently than what we expected, hope can take a hit. Our sense of hope can take a hit. And we can feel like actually being like, I'm going to hope, but at a distance, like arm's length hope. And hope is something that can permeate everything we do, like this beautiful, interconnected energy of every breath we take. And hope is both a state of renewal and self-renewal. Hope is resilience. Hope is visionary thinking and leaning in, because without the hope of better things to come, of new things to be created, of new flowers to bloom and new dreams to grow and new ways that we can keep walking our path, without that hope, then we just kind of sit there. Hope is that fuel. Hope aligned with trust is an even more powerful fuel, because the trust and actually being willing to walk a path that may be unknown to you is very powerful and profound. And that is where the magic of shifting things in your life will happen. Back in May of 2022, I wrote this. I was sitting with hope. What is hope? And for me, from my own personal cosmology, hope is in part this: to live aligned with the rhythm of the stars, with the gentle rhythm of nature, and the often chaotic rhythm of nature. And so I invite you to, as I look here for something else that I had written, I invite you to sit with what that could mean for you. Here we go. To live aligned with the rhythm of the stars, with the gentle rhythm of nature, to the chaotic rhythm of nature and the cosmos. To be electrified and free, gentle and magnetic, moving poetry as your life unfolds, moment by moment, breath by breath. To be electrified and free, gentle and magnetic, moving poetry as your life unfolds. You are the moving poetry as your life unfolds. And hope can fuel the poetry of your life as it unfolds, the way it is unfolding right here, right now, without wishing for a different outcome than what you have, so that you're not rejecting your current state. Whenever we are in a space of rejection and resistance, there is rigidity. So we want to learn how to soften into hope. And rather than make hope a transactional element in our life, I hope for this, and then if it happens, great. And if not, then I'm frustrated and I'm angry and I'm resentful. And why am I even hoping for anything else? To having it be a sense of how you exist, a gentle pulse of the hope of a new day and a new moment. And nature in its essence is chaotic. Life in its essence is chaotic. And when we see it that way and we lean into creating from that chaos, rather than expecting a set of things to happen in a certain way, then the doors just kind of fling right open. And it's in that balance, right? Yesterday in this event, we talked a lot about your conditioned path, the path that you're taking because you think you should be taking it, and your chosen path, the path that comes from your essence, making decisions from your own vision and not the circumstances around you, making decisions from the heart rather than the head, and how the heart basically serves your soul, and then your head serves the heart. So the heart, when things emanate from the heart, like hope, this ethereal thing that we cannot grasp, and yet we feel it, then our head can bring that into form with the decisions we make, with the way we move forward, with the way we challenge ourselves to keep going. And so we talked about that, and we talked about this also being a path of integration, because when we're living in complete, well, what do I want my life to be? And we aren't present to what is going on right now, and the nuggets and the breadcrumbs and the deep wisdom that you are learning through your current experiences, then we're detached from it. And that also breeds a sense of anger and resentment and detachment. You feel like you're not in your life. You're somehow experiencing it from a different vantage point. And while being in that space is, I think, fruitful at times, because it allows us to really be in a space of deep dreaming. And I'm all about the dreaming and the whimsy and the deep imagination, and that is absolutely a thread as I walk in my own magic, like completely all the time. I'm also very present to what is happening in my life moment by moment, because what is happening in my life is also cracking me open. And then from that place of aligning those two paths, you find the points where, as I call it, your humanity collides with your divinity. And in those moments, that spark of your humanity, what is happening to you in your life, whether you are loving it or not, and your divinity, your intuition, your sense of hope, of love, when those two come together, that right there is a creatrix point. And then we can weave in this idea of creatrix consciousness, of turning your light into form, being in acceptance of all the parts of you, integrate them, and then create from there. Easier said than done. I know. I live with this all the time. I am in this constant space of inquiry. What does it mean when hope collides with fear? How do we keep the hope alive when we feel like we are losing something, someone, ourselves? What happens when we are in a deep place of pain and challenge? Where does the hope live? Where does it go? Do we become resentful at this idea of hope because it is somehow letting us down? Just some beautiful things to ponder. Let's pull some cards around hope. I am pulling one of my favorite decks that is imbued with nice, very grounded, hopeful energy. It's called the Sacred Destiny Oracle by Denise Linn, and a card just flew on the floor, so I'm going to get it. Because we needed it. Trust. What did I say earlier? Hope plus trust. 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 And what is trust? To me, trust and confidence go hand in hand. And they are both akin to a muscle, a beautiful muscle that we get to grow over time. We often have this sense that we will trust ourselves at a certain point. Again, think about the idea for a moment of just interchangeably like trust and confidence, because confidence might be something that you feel more familiar with. Like, oh, I won't do this until I feel confident enough to do so. That basically translates into I won't do this until I trust myself enough to be able to do it. Typically, we follow that thought with to be able to do it well, perfectly, completely, to be able to do it without people making a judgment about it, to be able to do it in a way that I'm in control of. Now, what if we scratch that and instead go with the thought of I am willing to create things in my life in order to build a sense of trust in myself, not because I have to trust myself to get it right and have the confidence to do it perfectly or the right way or the way that others expect, but rather to trust myself enough to know that no matter what happens, I've got me. If it's a great success, I trust myself enough to follow that through and to keep going and to relish and receive the bounty of that success. And if it is not a quote unquote success, I trust myself enough to know what steps to take, to shift, to pivot. I call it a shivot, a shift and a pivot. To trust myself enough to know that I've got me no matter what. That is, to me, the essence of freedom. And from that place, we can try anything because we are no longer so attached to the outcome of what if I fail? It's not you that's failing if you trust yourself enough to try. Maybe the project was not meant to come to fruition. Maybe there's some other factors that you haven't considered. There's so many things that go into anything that we're doing. But to trust ourselves to know enough to know that no matter what happens, I've got me. And then we got the card of forgiveness. So let's connect the dots between hope and forgiveness. Makes sense to me to forgive ourselves for maybe being angry at hope, if that's something that you have felt. Maybe hoping things will get better and they don't leaves you with that feeling of being like scattered, maybe shattered, maybe clutching at the ways that you thought things had to be and you hoped things would be, but they did not turn out that way. And so now what do? I trust. I trust in myself, and I trust in this mysterious unfolding of my life. And I trust in the self-renewing nature of hope in new beginnings and new things showing up, because they inevitably will. But when we come at it from a place of constriction and cutting ourselves off from that source of hope, and it happens because life can really disappoint us sometimes. But if we can dig in again and go, okay, the thread of hope is not the thing that was cut. It's something else that shifted. The hope is still there. Forgiveness for myself and forgiveness for others and forgiveness for the choices I've made and forgiveness for whenever I have let myself forget who I am. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. So we have trust and we have forgiveness. Let's pull one more card aligned with this idea of hope. To live aligned with the rhythm of the stars and the gentle and often chaotic rhythm of nature itself. Okay. Interesting. I have two cards that popped out. One of them is a word that we've been using a little bit today is success. And the other one is action. And I am loving the turn that this energy just took. And this is where hope seeds new things, because all of a sudden you can find yourself in a moment where you go, I call it the I know, I go. I know, like I know, I go. Action. Yesterday, somebody said in the chat that confidence comes from action. Beautifully said. I've always said momentum is magic. The momentum of the things that you do and what you generate and the steps you take and the moves you make play a part in you playing your role and you making things happen and then developing even more trust and confidence in yourself that will inevitably bring a new sense of success. It's high tide. We redefine success completely. High tide or high time? It's time. It is time to reassess and realign completely our definition of success. And I say that this Venus and Leo moment that we're having right now, and this 18-month cycle of Venus in Leo, where, well, Venus will be in Leo for a time, but this in the Venus cycle, she's now entering the space of working with Leo energies over the next 18 months. Again, that's part of what we dove into yesterday. So if you want to dive even deeper, real deep and juicy, go get the recording. But I'll share here some of the nuggets that I shared yesterday. She is saying, do you have the courage to shine? Do you have the courage to shine? Do you have the courage to hope? Do you have the courage to take action? But do you have the courage to shine? And I say to redefine your own definition of success, because success on the conditioned path, the path that you thought you had to take, looked a certain way. Maybe it looked like making a certain amount of money. Maybe it looked like making certain people happy. It's about validating the other rather than validating yourself. And success on the chosen path might look completely differently. Now, I say that, and at the same time, I realize, and this is where bringing the pieces together and integration comes into play. We're living and breathing on this earth where we need money and groceries and to pay the rent. And we've got people that depend on us. And we've got a lot of really, really hard things happening all around all the time. And so, again, we have to balance all of that with, okay, we're living right here, right now. And what do I do with this? How do I not cut myself off from what's happening while also nurturing my own deep sense of hope and belief? Hope does not have to live outside of what's happening in your life. Hope is the connective tissue. Hope is the connective, invisible tissue of everything that you are doing in your life. And so perhaps in that redefinition itself of hope and your relationship to this idea of hope, you breed a new sense of success for you that works in your own unique universe. It's a wonderful time to be alive in this moment. You're exactly where you're meant to be. And you are learning all the things that are going to take you into your next step. And I hope that you have the wisdom and the trust and the confidence and the tenderness and the fierceness to go for the things that you really desire to bring into fruition. And we've got some beautiful cosmic stories that are helping us to do that in this moment. So with that, I'm going to leave you for today. More to come. Thank you for liking and subscribing on this brand new journey. Little personal note is, for me, this signifies a very symbolic beginning and rebirth of who I am out in the world. And I am absolutely aligning with the current cosmic energies to do so. I invite you to do the same. That will look in a certain way for you, depending on your chart, depending on what you're experiencing. It is a beautiful time for a new moment, new big rebirth energy. What is your chosen path? What is your chosen path? After watching this video, if you're feeling inspired, take a step towards that chosen path. Even something teeny tiny can shift the frequency and shift the energy around what you've been trying to create and what you've been hoping for and dreaming for. And go journal on what hope means for you, or as you're doing the dishes, just sit with, what does hope feel like for me? What does this idea of having the courage to shine feel like? And if it scares you, awesome, great, even better. Keep going in that direction, because it's going to show you some things that will rock your life in the best way. So let's keep walking in magic, my friends. Thank you for supporting my work with your likes and your subscribes and your shares. And if you're curious about what I'm up to, you can look at some links below. I have a beautiful Patreon called Walking in Magic, where we basically take these learnings and channeled messages and all these good things to the next level. We meet every new moon, and I share a new spell/ritual every Thursday, so you can work on your witchy magic and your spiritual practice. And we are curating a beautiful garden of incredible women in that space. So if you feel it, come join us. All my love and stardust always. Be well, my friends. Bye.